It is your brother and your sister,
yes,
Jerry and Tanisha Flowers.
It is us.
And I have a feeling that this particular webisode is going to be dope.
Dope.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be dope. I think it's more like needed and necessary, relevant.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff. Let's talk about breaking emotional attachments. Are y'all ready for this?
This is a good one.
Are y'all ready for this?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
You know, this is so needed. A lot of people with relationships, they move on, but they don't really move on. They physically move on, but emotionally, their heart is still there.
So your location has moved, but your heart hasn't.
There is so much content about getting out. Like, you need to get out. You need to leave them. They're not good for you. That's a toxic relationship. That's abusive. It's out of God's will. You know you need to move on. That's just not right for you. I believe there's a lot of content out there about that. But I don't believe there's enough content about how. Once you're out of this relationship and your heart is still there, what do you do? How do you let all of that stuff go? What do you do?
I think we're given an instruction on what to do, and we know we should do.
Right.
But we don't know how to. How about let's go back to when we were in second grade. Let's do a how-to. I need a how-to. Don't just tell me I need deliverance.
Right.
Give me step by step. How do I get free?
Right.
How do I break free from this?
Right.
How do I stop crying over him? How do I stop crying over her? How do I heal from that last marriage?
Right.
How do I heal from that breakup?
Right.
I know that they were no good, but I
Right.
still feel attached to the person that was no good.
Right.
And I feel no good because I'm attached to things that are no good.
Right.
Tell me how.
Yeah. How?
How?
All right, y'all. We're gonna bring a little heat. Sometimes healing is tied to pain. Ouch. Sometimes it requires for you to make a decision that hurts your heart, but heals your soul.
Because sometimes when a bone is out of place, it's painful. But it's gonna be even more painful to pop it back in place.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is what healing feels like. Literally, there is something in me that's broken, and God is gonna have to pop it back in place.
That back.
And you're gonna have to holler. You may have to cry.
Ooh.
You may have to grit your teeth. It's better for you to feel the pain of it being popped back in place than for you to feel the pain of walking around broken.
Let me give you a different perspective. Sometimes breakups are really an answered prayer.
Because if you think about it, could you actually be mislabeling it? You're mislabeling it a breakup, but heaven would label it an answer. You said, God, if this isn't your will, God, I only want your purpose. I only want your will. Show me.
Let me know.
If you're not endorsing this, if this don't have oil on it, if this isn't the best relationship for my assignment, for my purpose, I don't want to have a pawn. I don't want to have a parasite.
Right.
I don't want to have a project.
Right.
I want to have a partner. And you pray this prayer.
Right.
And you really mean it. Like you really mean it. Sometimes even fast. You really, really are asking God. And God shows you something. Or something happens. I'm laughing because I feel like it's messing you up.
Yeah.
God shows you something and he answered you. And now you're crying. You're snotting and crying about it.
It's over.
And I bet the Lord is like, you asked for this, bruh.
That's your answer.
This is your answer.
Here's your answer, sis.
I'm a good father.
That's what you wanted, right?
That's important because we have to remember we ask God for this. We have to remember that we ask God for this so that when we miss them and we feel the temptation to go back, and even if they hurt us, we have to understand that forgiveness does not mean rekindle. Forgiveness does not mean rekindle or re-entry. This is important because emotional wounds block logic. There were so many toxic things in this. There were so many things that you cried yourself to sleep. Like God did not give you all the strength so that you could recover and go back to the very thing that broke you. Because we believe when you're healed, you'll discover the only thing that you really miss is the peace that you had before them.
All right, point number one. We have to understand the necessity of a detox.
There's just some stuff that I gotta get out. There's some pain,
Flush it
some
out.
toxicity, some hurt,
Parasites.
some trauma,
Yeah.
some emotional woundedness, insomnia, bitterness. The reason we have to do this detox is because there's some stuff that I gotta get out. What if I told you that there's an upgrade version of you that can't come out until you detox? And a lot of us like, okay, how do I get over this? And how do I heal from this? You gotta understand, number one, you gotta detox.
Right.
This comes with missing them.
Yeah.
This comes with crying.
Yeah.
This comes with telling your friends you feel lonely.
Right. Understand the necessity of detox. Be honest about what is there and take the time to get it out.
Point number two, don't revisit. Why are you checking out their IG? Why are you checking out their Facebook? See, some of us literally, depending on the magnitude of the breakup, have to sever social media because it keeps on becoming triggers. And when you revisit their IG or their Facebook, you know what that does? It reopens that wound that God is trying to heal. It creates comparison. So you start to look at that girl or you start to look at that guy and compare yourself to them.
She not
and
that cute.
This is real good. When you visit places that you're no longer at, it turns up the volume of your internal critic. You have this inner critic that is constantly criticizing you. Well, if you would have did this, and if you wouldn't did this, or maybe it wasn't this bad. And so when you go back to those places that you're no longer at, you start to amplify voices that are in combat with the voice that God told you. And you allow that inner critic to talk you out of what God has talked you into.
Going back to those places emotionally, but physically, you're not there anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of us do that. Like, you're not there, but in your heart and your mind, you're still right smack dab in the middle of that relationship. Because listen, if you keep looking back, you may eventually, potentially go back. You can't move forward and dwell on former at the same time. I believe there's a reason why the rearview mirror says objects are closer than they appear.
You could allow the pain to feel more severe than it really is when you keep looking back. And then you wonder why you're salty. Sidebar, Lot's wife. Even when we're in this phase of healing, you have to remember why y'all broke up. The reason y'all broke up is still there.
It's still there.
It was unhealthy. It was causing my hair to fall out. This wasn't God's will. It wasn't fruitful. They were unfaithful. They were a liar. They were narcissistic. There's a reason why this ended in the first place. And the reason it ended is still there, bro.
Point number 3, purpose-driven. I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing? Could you be in so much pain or dwelling in this pain or still in the same state because you're not doing anything? You're not being productive. You're not pursuing your purpose. You're not putting your energy elsewhere that's positive.
Listen.
And so you can, help yourself get through it and get over it,
Listen. Idleness amplifies pain. We're not telling you to get active. We're telling you to be effective. Because you can be active and never really address the wound. And so what ends up happening is you end up bleeding out. There's certain injuries that are so severe, if you keep on trying to go like nothing happened, you'll bleed out. You're losing too much blood. I need to actually become purpose-driven. Why did God cosmically create me? What is my sweet spot? The cure for loneliness is not company, it's calling. And there's a difference in being alone and lonely. When you're alone, this means you have mastered playing the solo. When you're lonely, you won't even play the solo because you want to duet. And so there's so many times where the pain is amplified because you are not actively engaged in your purpose and plowing in the mission field and understanding what problem am I supposed to fix, because purpose is a fixer. And the reason why you were born, you didn't just have a birthday. When you were born, you're calling it a birthday, but hell calls it a problem day. There is something that you were called to do here on the earth. There's something that you're called to shift. There's something that you're called to break. There's something that you're anointed to do. You have the oil for this. A whole generation is looking for the sauce, but you have the oil. You have the right to be lit because we are the light of the world, and there's something that God wants you to do. And when you discover that, and when you become passionate about that, and when you become consistent about that, and when you put your hands on that, that doesn't mean you won't experience the pain, but your healing will be expedited because you're not sitting in some corner with your tail tucked in crying. I'm focused on what it is that God has me to do.
Let me get myself together. Wipe my tears, you know what I'm saying? It hurt, you know what I'm saying? I'm hurt, but you know what? I'm about to pick myself up. I'm gonna deal with it. I'm gonna get healed, and I'm gonna move forward. I'm gonna succeed. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna press through my purpose. Like, that's what God wants for us. He wants for us to press through.